This area of the garden has to be one of my most favourite places because, as you can see, I'm standing underneath an archway trellis, and this year I'm growing some pumpkins in these garden beds on either side. Now, just like the previous garden bed, this does span for about 10 metres, and we've used Rio mesh to create the archway from one garden bed to the other. In the long archway trellis this year, I am growing some pumpkins, and the variety that I've got going is called Butternut Waltham. Now, I am very excited because the plants that we've got here, I actually grew from seeds that we saved from pumpkins we grew in the garden last year, which I'm really excited to see how they're going to grow over the season and see if they are a bit more acclimatized to the garden than last year's planting. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we have had a bit of a bug issue so far in the garden, particularly with our pumpkins. We've had a bug called a slater around our pumpkin plants, and I did actually lose one of the pumpkin plants. Now, although this bug is supposed to be a beneficial bug in the garden, they can still target young plants, which is why I had some damage to my pumpkin plants. Now, I wasn't quite sure what attracted them to the pumpkins in the first place. The soil was quite moist. We had a few days there where I had some rain, and I do have this space of the garden covered with some lucerne mulch, which has really kept the moisture in the soil. So I don't know if that was a contributing factor, but what I ended up doing was trialing putting down some diatomaceous earth around the stems of each of the plants, but I also sprinkled some on some of the leaves as well. Now, for the most part, I think that probably has helped to combat the situation. I am still getting a bit of bug damage, but hopefully that will ease as the plants continue to grow and they're not so young and fragile anymore. I've got 23 pumpkin plants in this space, and again, they are planted quite close together. The only reason why I can plant them so close is because I'm growing them vertically rather than running them along the ground. So that gives me a little bit more flexibility with how close I can have the plants. Now, one of the reasons why I really love planting my pumpkins to grow vertically is because I can plant more in a smaller space, but also usually the plants are a lot healthier and they're less susceptible to bug damage. Now, like I said, this start of the season has been a little bit tricky with the bugs so far, so I'll see how that goes as the season progresses. But I'm very excited for when this archway trellis is covered in the beautiful pumpkin greenery and there's pumpkins hanging below. I will keep you all updated as the vine progresses because it is a really pretty sight. This area of the garden is a bit of a rambly, jungly mess, and what I've got growing along this garden bed here is called a fig leaf gourd, also known as a chilocayote. Now, I have done a video on this before. I think it was called something along the lines of the perfect permaculture plant, because it is in fact a fantastic permaculture plant. The fig leaf gourd is a perennial vine, so it died back in the winter and it has grown back this spring with a vengeance. All of this growth here is just from about maybe 2 months worth of growth. And as you can see, where I was walking, that is supposed to be a pathway, and the vine has taken over the pathway. Over this side of the garden here, where I've got my pumpkin garden and the garlic and cucumbers, the fig leaf gourd has also started creeping into those garden beds as well. Now, I have been meaning to come back to this side of the garden and trim this vine back because it is getting to be a bit of a snake hazard. So there are already fruits growing on the vine, which is really cool. It is so fast growing, which is another reason why it's a really good permaculture plant. But this afternoon, I think I'll probably come out here and just trim this back, keep it contained to the garden bed. Another cool name for this plant is called the 7-year melon. And that is because apparently the fruits can last for 7 years. Now, I cannot confirm or deny that. I do have some in the house that we grew on the plant last season, and I think I'll probably put some aside and cut one open periodically and see how long it does in fact last for. And I will definitely keep you all updated, because if it does in fact last for 7 years, then that is a pretty cool plant to have in your garden, in your permaculture food forest, especially in the current climate of the world today. If you can have a plant that is going to provide for you with very minimal effort, then that is a plant that you're going to want to have in your garden. Now, the fruit of this plant is actually pretty cool, and they do look like a watermelon. They actually look really pretty, and they can be mistaken for a watermelon with the green and white stripes. However, the inside is totally different than a watermelon. It is not sweet. In fact, I would probably put it in the same basket as a choco, whereas it doesn't really have a flavor. In my experience cooking it, it tends to take on the flavor of what else you're cooking. So it is a good option to bulk up your meals as well. Now, apparently you can turn it into a sweet by boiling it down. I haven't done that either. Apparently the process is quite lengthy. So if you have turned your chilacayote fig leaf gourd fruit into a sweet, please write down below. Let us know how it tasted, what the method was, because I think that would be really cool to look into. Now, the vine really does stretch all the way down to the other side of the garden. I've got a mandarin tree down there and an orange tree, and it's started creeping under the trees and right to the other side of the garden almost. It's actually pretty incredible how fast this plant grows. If you are interested in seeing more about this plant, I'll be sure to put the link below for the video that I made last season for the fig leaf gourd, the perfect permaculture plant. I hope you all really enjoyed this mid-spring veggie garden tour. If you do have any questions or comments, please make sure you write them down below, as I will always read the comments and get back to you as well. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button, share the video around, and subscribe to my channel, as that's going to help my channel to grow so I can reach more people and encourage people to start growing their own garden and start growing their own food. Well, I hope you can get out into your gardens today to enjoy this beautiful sunshine, and I will see you all on the next one. See ya!